Move it, old man. This is a hospital, not a nursing home. Lieutenant Marcus Reed's voice echoed through the emergency wing corridor of the VA hospital. The 71-year-old hospital orderly, Thomas Doc Martinez, stood before him, quietly pushing his gurney, looking at the young officer. He had been working at this hospital for 40 years, but had never encountered such a disrespectful soldier. Reed was turning to his friends and laughing. This old man was blocking their way. The Veterans Affairs Hospital, Los Angeles, California, was the largest veteran medical facility. Every day thousands of veterans came here for treatment, checkups, rehabilitation. This hospital wasn't just medical care, it was the physical embodiment of respect, honor, and remembrance. Every corridor was filled with stories, every room with sacrifice. And at the heart of this sacred place, Thomas Martinez had been working for 40 years. Thomas Doc Martinez, at 71, had graying hair, a deeply lined face, with a slight tremor in his left hand. He wore simple hospital orderly scrubs, light blue, with a name tag T. Martinez Patient Care Aide. He had been doing this job for 40 years, making beds, transporting patients, organizing supplies. Quiet, reliable patients felt comfortable with him. But there was something in his eyes, a deep sadness, as if he had seen too much. Lieutenant Marcus Reed, 29 years old, had just returned from deployment in Afghanistan, was a young officer who considered himself a proven combat veteran. He had come for treatment for a minor shrapnel wound on his arm, but his attitude was the problem. Entitled, impatient, disrespectful. This morning Doc was transporting a patient, an elderly Korean War veteran, to the examination room. The corridor was narrow, the gurney large. He was carefully navigating. Reed and two buddies were walking in the corridor, talking loud, laughing. "Excuse me, sirs," Doc said politely. "Need to get patient through." Reed stopped, looked annoyed. "We're walking here, old man. You can wait, sir. Patient needs urgent care." "Please," did I stutter? Reed spoke sharply. I said, "Wait. We're not moving for a hospital janitor. I'm an orderly, sir. Patient care. I don't care what you are." Reed stepped closer. "You're nobody. Just move beds around." While real soldiers like us actually fought, Doc quietly waited. The patient on the gurney, Mr. Patterson, 89 years old, looked uncomfortable. "Son Patterson," said in a weak voice, "please let him through." "I need quiet, old-timer." Reed dismissed him. "Adults are talking." Doc spoke quietly. "Sir, with respect, the patient needs care. Please move." "With respect," Reed mocked. "You're telling me what to do. You probably never even served, never wore the uniform, never understood sacrifice." "Reed, come on, man," one of his buddies said uncomfortably. "Let them through." "No," Reed insisted stubbornly. "These civilians need to learn their place. The hospital is full of them taking jobs, slowing things down. Real veterans are suffering because of incompetent orderlies at this point." Nurse Supervisor Elena Rodriguez approached from the end of the hallway. She had been working at the VA for 20 years, knew Doc well. "Lieutenant Reed," Elena spoke in a stern voice. "What's going on?" "This orderly is blocking the hallway," Reed lied, refusing to move for personnel. Elena looked at Doc. She immediately understood the gurney, patient, and situation. "Lieutenant, you're blocking patient transport. Please step aside. Are you serious?" Reed was incredulous. "You're taking his side. I'm taking patient care side. That's our job. Now move." Reluctantly, Reed stepped sideways but muttered, "Pathetic. The VA is hiring anyone these days. Too old, too slow, probably can't even read medical charts." Doc quietly pushed the gurney past. Mr. Patterson looked at Doc with apologetic eyes. That afternoon, Red filed a formal complaint. "Orderly Thomas Martinez is incompetent, too old, creating a safety hazard." An investigation started. The hospital director, Dr. James Wilson, a retired Army surgeon, personally reviewed the case. The next day, Doc was called to the office. Thomas Wilson said respectfully, "A complaint has been filed. Lieutenant Reed is questioning your competency." "I understand, Sir Doc. I've known you for 15 years. You're the best orderly we have. But Reed claims you're a liability. Too old, too slow, dangerous for patients." Doc just nodded. Wilson looked at the file. "Thomas, your employment record starts in 1984. Perfect attendance, 0 incidents, countless commendations from patients. But before that, there's a gap. 1968 to 1974, military service." Sir Wilson was surprised. "You were in service?" "Yes, sir. Army." "What was your mark?" Doc answered quietly. 68W, sir. Combat medic." Wilson dropped his pen. "Combat medic. Thomas... Where did you serve?" "Vietnam, sir. 1968 to 1971. Wilson stood, came around his desk. "Doc, why never mention this? Didn't seem relevant." "Sir, different life." "Thomas, combat medics. You saw things, did things, saved lives under fire." Doc's left hand tremor increased slightly. "Just did my job, sir." Wilson gently pushed. "Doc, I need to know. For the record, what did you do there?" Long silence. Doc's eyes were distant, memories flooding. "Assigned to the 101st Airborne, sir. Air assault operations. Carried a 50-pound medical bag, plus weapon, ammo. Every mission, First one to the wounded, last one to leave. In 3 years, I participated in over 200 combat operations. Treated everything: gunshot wounds, shrapnel, burns, field amputations. No anesthesia, no or just the jungle floor and my hands. Wilson listened quietly, respectfully. The worst was 1969, operation near the DMZ ambush. My platoon was pinned down, casualties everywhere, men screaming, bleeding, radio destroyed, no medevac communication. I crawled to each wounded man, under fire, stabilized them, tourniquets, pressure bandages, 4 fluids, 14 hours, no sleep, just move. Treat, move, treat. By the time relief came, 23 men were wounded, all survived, because I refused to let them die. Wilson's eyes misted. Thomas, were you awarded anything? Doc reached into his pocket, pulled out a worn leather wallet. Inside, a faded card, combat medical badge etched on the front. Behind it, another card, Bronze Star, valid device. Wilson stared. Doc, Bronze Star. You never told anyone. Sir, lots of medics got medals. I just did my job. Came home, wanted a quiet life, serving veterans here, felt right. Giving back. Wilson made a decision. Doc, I'm not just dismissing the complaint. I'm having a base-wide staff meeting. Everyone needs to know who you are. Doc protested. Sir, please, no attention, Thomas. It's not about attention, it's about respect. Teaching these young service members what real sacrifice looks like. The next week a hospital-wide meeting was called. All staff, all patients who could attend, hundreds packed the auditorium. Reed was there, with a smug expression. Dr. Wilson took the stage. Today, we address a failure, not of policy, not of procedure, a failure of respect. Last week an officer filed a complaint against our orderly, called him incompetent, dangerous, unfit for work. That orderly is Thomas Martinez, and I'll tell you who he is. Doc reluctantly walked to the stage. Wilson continued. 1968. Thomas Martinez, 20 years old, drafted, became a combat medic, assigned to the 101st Airborne Division, Vietnam for 3 years. Doc participated in over 200 combat operations, air assaults into hot landing zones, search and destroy missions, fire-based defense. The auditorium was silent. Combat medics carry the heaviest burden. First to the wounded, expose themselves to fire, treat casualties while bullets are flying, save their brothers while risking their own lives. Wilson projected a photo on the large screen, a young man in jungle fatigues, medical bag, helmet with a red cross, holding a wounded soldier. Unmistakably young Doc, 1969. Operation near the DMZ, platoon ambushed, 23 men wounded. Doc treated all of them, 14 hours, under constant fire, no medevac, no reinforcement, just him, his bag, his hands. All 23 survived, because Doc refused to quit, refused to let his brothers die. For this action he was awarded the Bronze Star with V device, Valor Under Fire. Reed's face went pale. Wilson continued. After the war, Doc came home. No parades, no thanks, just PTSD nightmares, survivor's guilt. But instead of breaking, he chose to serve again. 40 years. This hospital, patient care, quietly helping veterans, giving back, never asking for recognition. And last week an officer who served one deployment called him useless, said he never sacrificed, never understood service. Wilson directly addressed Reed. Lieutenant, you questioned this man's value, his competency, his right to be here. Let me be clear. Doc Martinez earned the right to be anywhere. His hands saved lives while you were still in diapers. His courage kept men alive in hell. You can't imagine your deployment honorable. But it doesn't give you the right to disrespect a man who bled for soldiers before you were born. The entire auditorium turned to Doc. Slowly, patients in wheelchairs with walkers with canes stood. They saluted. Doc, tears streaming, saluted back. His hand tremor was visible, but his salute was perfect. After the meeting, Reed approached Doc. Shame was crushing him. Mr. Martinez, Reed barely whispered. I am sorry, I didn't know. I assumed, I judged. I'm deeply, deeply sorry. Doc looked at the young officer. Son, you didn't know, but you should have. In a hospital full of veterans, everyone has a story. Everyone sacrificed. Respect comes first. Mr. Martinez, would you tell me about it? About Vietnam, so I can learn, so I can be better. Doc considered. Not about glory, Lieutenant, about pain, about brothers, about why we serve. Are you ready for that truth? Yes, sir. I need to learn. Weeks passed. Doc began monthly sessions, sharing his story with staff, with patients, with young service members. Not war stories, life lessons. About humility, about recognizing sacrifice in others, about respect. Reed became Doc's advocate. Every new person at the hospital, Reed personally introduced to Doc. This man taught me what a warrior really is. One day a special visitor came, a Vietnam veteran, wheelchair-bound, 75 years old. He saw Doc in the hallway and froze. Doc Martinez. Doc turned, looked at the man. Recognition was slow, then sudden. Williams, Tommy Williams. The men embraced, both crying. You saved me, Doc, LZ Charlie, 1969. Chest wound. You kept me alive, I remember. You kept talking about your girl back home, married her 50 years now, 3 kids, 8 grandkids. Because of you, they talked for hours, read, watched, learned, understood the true meaning of service. Months later, VA headquarters sent representatives. They were updating records, documenting heroic actions. Doc was interviewed, his story was recorded, added to official archives. But they brought something else, Mr. Martinez. The representative said, "Your Bronze Star. We reviewed the action. It was insufficient recognition. We're upgrading it. Silver Star." Doc shook his head. "Don't need a medal. I already have everything. The respect of the veterans I serve. Sir, it's not about need. It's about history, recording the truth, about honoring your sacrifice properly." A ceremony was held months later. A general personally pinned the Silver Star on Doc, 71 years old, still working, still serving. In his speech, Doc said, "This medal is for every medic who served, everyone who didn't come home, everyone still fighting demons from that war. I accept it for them." Lieutenant Reed stood in formation, openly crying. He'd learned the greatest lesson. Titles don't make heroes. Actions do. Sacrifice does. Quiet service does. Years passed. Doc eventually retired at 75. The hospital threw a massive celebration. Hundreds attended, patients he'd cared for, staff he'd mentored, service members he'd taught. Reed, now a captain, gave the speech. "Doc Martinez taught me what books can't teach, that a hero wears many uniforms. Sometimes combat fatigues, sometimes hospital scrubs, but always a heart of service." The hospital established the Martinez Award, given annually to the employee demonstrating Doc's values: humility, dedication, quiet service. In the main lobby, a plaque was installed in honor of Thomas Doc Martinez, combat medic, Vietnam 1968 to 1971. 40 years faithful service to veterans. His hands healed then. His heart heals now. Doc passed away at 79, peacefully. Full military honors. Hundreds of veterans attended the funeral. Captain Reed gave the eulogy. Doc Martinez never sought glory, never needed recognition, just served. From jungle to hospital, from battlefield to bedside, always a medic, always a healer. He taught us real strength is gentle, real courage is caring, real service is eternal. Rest easy, Doc. Your watch is over, your brothers are safe. Mission accomplished. The VA hospital never forgot. Every new employee learns Doc's story. Every service member is taught respect in his name. In the hospital archive, his old medical bag is preserved, blood-stained, worn, sacred, a reminder, heroes walk among us, quietly serving, healing wounds, saving lives. Sometimes the greatest warriors don't carry rifles. Sometimes they carry bandages. Compassion, care. Thomas Doc Martinez proved it. Vietnam II VA 2279. Always a medic, always faithful. That's the legacy. That's the lesson. That's what it means to truly serve.